Welcome to the Petersen Automotive Museum Deep Dive Series. My name is Leslie Kendall, and today we're going to be talking about a 1954 Plymouth Explorer dream car. Today we call them concept cars, but back in the 1950s they called them dream cars because designers were encouraged to dream, they were encouraged to think out of the box. And this car was about as out of the box as you could get in the mid-1950s. It was a Plymouth, which is renowned for its solid dependability and reliability and its uncomplicated machinery, but it wears probably the sexiest body a Plymouth has ever had. The bodywork is done by Ghia in conjunction with Chrysler stylists. As if to hammer home the point that this was no ordinary Plymouth, it does not even say Plymouth up front. Instead, you've got the Ghia badge. It only says Plymouth on both sides and on the trunk. The Ghia badge is there so that people know this car has an Italian-esque, European quality to it. And it's hardly traditionally American. If you look at the headlights are deep set, just like Ghia was kind of working on at the time. The fenders come to a very nice crown that runs the length of the front. And the grille is even unusual. Some people think it looks a little bit like a shark or a catfish, but there again, it's something that you experiment with. You have to try everything at least once. And if people in the day had responded favorably to the styling, then you certainly would have seen a lot more of these on the street. As it happens, some of these cars, they don't live an easy life. Once they leave the hands of their influential first owners or the factories have spent so much money having them built, they sometimes ended up as daily drivers. And indeed, this one was painted a variety of colors. And when it was discovered right before restoration, it was a metallic brown with a full-length front bumper and a grille with a full metal surround that made it look like a 1980s Jaguar. Some people think it was pretty, some people didn't like it, but regardless, it was not how it was born. So during the restoration, the decision was made to take it exactly back to its configuration for 1954, including the green color, which is original to the car. Not the paint, but the color. Now, these are the days when you could still order just the chassis from a vehicle, have it sent to a coach builder, and they would essentially build from scratch a body to your liking. And that's kind of what Chrysler was doing in this period of time. They were collaborating with Ghia on designs and whatnot, and then sending the chassis over. So while this car looks sexy and it's low slung and it looks chopped, if I were to open the hood, you would see a plain Jane 6-cylinder flathead Plymouth engine that takes up hardly any of the space under the hood. Not very sexy under the hood, but that's not really what these cars were about. These cars were about sparking dreams. They were about getting the general public interested in what the car manufacturers were doing. They wanted the public to think, gee, if these manufacturers are thinking this far advanced, just imagine what kind of innovation and what kind of characteristics are embodied in the car I can go to a dealer and drive out today. Now, keeping in mind that this was the mid-1950s, the jet age had come upon the United States with a vengeance, and designers were looking skyward for their inspiration. But they were also looking to the engineers of airplanes for a little bit for their inspiration. And why not duct the exhaust from a pipe underneath the taillights that almost make it look like the escaping exhaust is a form of thrust for the car. It was very, very dramatic, but I'll let you in on a little secret. This car may have 2 exhaust ports, but only one is actually functional. And when you go down the road, the only port from which you'll see exhaust emanating is this one. One look at this car, you'll notice there are a lot of subtle details. And it's all in the form of the car. These were in the days when chrome and fins ruled the day, and this car really makes very sparing use of chrome. In fact, with the exception of the wording on the side and maybe some little details around the windows, there's virtually no chrome at all. And no applied trim. This piece is actually built into the body. It's not a piece of white metal that was bolted on afterwards. It is actually sculpted into the shape of the door, and it blends into the shape of the rear fender too. Now, not being especially concerned about ergonomics, because after all, this car is never really intended to see production, it's got a very low top. And if I were to sit in this car, my head would probably rub against the headliner because it's so low. You have to slouch a little bit. But comfort was not what this car was about. It was about Plymouth exploring and showing people what it was capable of. It was a time when European coach builders were ruling the day with vehicles that did not rely on applied ornamentation for their visual interest, but careful manipulation of contours. In fact, if you were to try to build this body on an assembly line, it would be extremely difficult. There's an awful lot that just can't be recreated by a machine. And this car exemplifies that. Its organic shape could only have originated by hand in a small shop. Thank you for joining me on this, another deep dive into a car belonging to the Petersen Automotive Museum. We'll see you next time.